What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Now, if you want to play a deck that assembles some of the craziest turn 1 boards imaginable, is super consistent, and plays one of the strongest boss monsters ever printed in this game's history, well, let me introduce you to Endymion. Endymion is an archetype comprised primarily of spellcaster-type monsters that take advantage of an old Yu-Gi-Oh mechanic, spell counters. The goal of this deck is to abuse the pendulum summoning mechanic and combo off to create nearly unbreakable boards on our very first turn. Previously, I posted another guide covering a different pendulum-based archetype, Pendulum Magicians, and while there are some similarities between the two archetypes, not to mention the ability to combine both archetypes into a single deck, this video will focus more on the Endymion cards themselves. However, be sure to check out the other videos on Pendulum Magicians if you're interested. Before we can discuss the Endymion cards themselves, let's take a moment to discuss their core mechanics, spell counters. Spell counters are a specific type of counter that can be placed on cards which have an effect to gain spell counters. This usually occurs when a spell card is activated, and this can count when your opponent activates spell cards as well. Spell counters remain on any given card unless that card leaves the field or is flipped face down, and are primarily used to activate certain effects of cards that can hold them. If you plan on playing a deck that incorporates Endymion cards or any cards that involve spell counters, make sure you have a method to accurately track all spell counters on the field, such as utilizing multiple dice. Let's begin with the main monster lineup, starting with the archetype's key play starter, Servant of Endymion. Servant has multiple effects when it's in either the monster zone or the pendulum zone, but we'll break them down one by one. When it's in the pendulum zone, each time a spell card is activated, we place one spell counter on Servant when that spell resolves. As an ignition effect, we can remove 3 spell counters from Servant to special summon both the Servant from our pendulum zone and any monster from our deck with 1,000 or more attack that we can place a spell counter on, and if we do, we also place a spell counter on both that monster as well as Servant. Activating 3 spells while we have Servant scaled in the pendulum zone usually puts us in a strong position since there are so many powerful monsters we can immediately access from our deck, and Servant is something we typically want to prioritize in any opening hand. Servant also has a few effects while it's in the monster zone, even though they seldom come up. Servant can only be special summoned once per turn, typically occurring through its own effect. While Servant of Endymion has a spell counter, it can attack directly, which may seem innocuous considering she only has 900 attack, but could be relevant if our games go long and we need to win in time. As a quick effect during our opponent's turn, we can discard one card to place spell counters on each card we control that can hold spell counters. Again, while not used very often since Servant is often used as material to summon larger threats, this could be relevant if we need more spell counters in a pinch and enable the effects of our more powerful spellcasters. Lastly, if Servant is destroyed, we can place her in the pendulum zone with the same number of spell counters she had when she was in the monster zone. Next up is Magister of Endymion. His effect in the pendulum zone is identical to Servant's effect, except instead of special summoning itself and a monster from the deck, he special summons himself and a face-up monster from the extra deck that can hold a spell counter. Not as powerful as Servant, but still a very strong effect nonetheless. While in the monster zone, it shares the same effects with Servant, where it can only be special summoned once per turn, and if it's destroyed, it can be placed in the pendulum zone with all the spell counters it had in the monster zone. Where Magister differs, however, is that when Magister declares an attack, we can place a spell counter on it, but more importantly, as a quick effect during our opponent's turn, we can remove 3 spell counters from anywhere on the field to special summon a monster from our deck that can hold a spell counter. While more reactive than Servant, Magister can be useful in getting to the deck's more dangerous threats, especially during our opponent's turn. Reflection of Endymion has an identical effect in the pendulum zone to that of Servant and Magister, except Reflection special summons itself plus a monster from the hand that can hold a spell counter. Just like the previous monsters, Reflection can only be special summoned once per turn, but if Reflection is special summoned, we can target a card our opponent controls as well as a card we control that has a spell counter, return both cards to the hand, then place the spell counters from our card onto Reflection. And if Reflection is destroyed by battle while it has a spell counter, we can add any Endymion card from deck to hand. Probably the most niche of the 3, but Reflection's pseudo removal effect can be useful for removing threats with built-in protection from destruction or monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. Now let's discuss this behemoth of a boss monster that's the big Endymion payoff, Endymion, the mighty master of magic. This beast boasts 2,800 attack and comes with a novel's worth of card text, so let's break it down. While in the pendulum zone, we can remove 6 spell counters from anywhere on the field to special summon Endymion from the pendulum zone. Then count the number of cards we control that can hold spell counters, including itself, and destroy up to that many cards on the field. Then place spell counters on Endymion equal to the number of cards destroyed. Keep in mind that the spell counters can come from anywhere on the field, and that the destruction effect of Endymion does not target. While Endymion is in the monster zone, if a spell, trap card, or effect is activated once per turn as a quick effect, we can return one card we control with a spell counter to the hand to negate the activation and destroy that card. Then we can place spell counters on Endymion equal to the number on the returned card. Note that you can return Endymion himself for this effect, and if that weren't enough, while Endymion has a spell counter, our opponent cannot target or destroy Endymion with card effects. This makes Endymion incredibly difficult for our opponents to deal with, and some decks don't even have natural outs to it in their main deck. Finally, if Endymion is destroyed by battle while it has a spell counter, we can add any normal spell card from our deck to our hand. While destruction by battle is highly unlikely, being able to tutor for any normal spell in the game is obviously incredibly powerful. Now that we've discussed the main Endymion cards, let's discuss some supplementary pendulum-based engines that we'll want to incorporate to fuel our deck's consistency. The first natural inclusion would be the mythical beasts, specifically Jackal King and Master Cerberus. Jackal King is an incredible addition to the deck because it's a monster that can hold spell counters, meaning it's summonable via Servant. And while it's in the monster zone, when an opponent activates a monster effect as a quick effect, we can remove 2 spell counters from anywhere on the field to negate that activation and destroy that card, adding another layer of disruption for our opponent to have to play through. Jackal King is also the reason this deck can play through opposing hand traps, as well as more prominent combo hates such as Nibiru the Primal Being, considering it will hit the field well before 5 monsters have been summoned, thanks due in part to Servant of Endymion. A playset of Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm and a lone copy of Supreme King Gate 0 are staple in almost any pendulum deck, considering Dark Worm is our best normal summon, generating free advantage and enabling the Guard Dragon combos, followed up with a playset of Chronograph Sorcerer and a lone Time Gazer Magician being excellent ways to give our Endymion spell counters, establishing monsters on the field for Electrumite, and also helping protect our plays from Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit with Time Gazers on field effect, which a lot of people still forget about even to this very day. Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser is another free summon to get to Electrumite that also fuels our spell counter plan. Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Frisian, is an extender that supports the Guard Dragon package and also enables level 7 and 8 synchro plays. And Aether, the Evil Empowering Dragon, is a good piece of removal that can be both pendulum summoned or accessed via Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. Moving on to the spells, the single strongest spell in the deck is most likely Spell Power Mastery. On activation, we can add any Endymion card from deck to hand, then we count the number of Spell Power Mastery and Spell Power Grasp we control or have in our graveyard, and place that many spell counters among cards we control that can hold spell counters. It may only be once per turn, but an opening hand consisting of Servant of Endymion and Spell Power Mastery is considered one of the strongest openings at the deck's disposal. Magical City of Endymion, the deck's field spell, isn't as necessary to the deck's strategy as you might think, but it's worth considering since it helps generate spell counters, absorbs all spell counters from destroyed cards, and we can pay for the effects of our cards using spell counters from Citadel instead of any other spell counter based card. Endymion specific spells aside, we want to focus our spell lineup on turboing into Servant of Endymion's effect as quickly as possible. Allure of Darkness is great for consistency since the deck is comprised primarily of dark monsters and it's not once per turn for some reason. Dragon Shrine and Foolish Burial help us turbo into Dark Worm. Pot of Desires gives us more resources to help combo off, and we're not particularly scared about banishing any specific card since we play nearly everything at maximum copies. Upstart Goblin is literally a free spell counter on any card that can take them. Terraforming can help fetch Citadel, and Secret Village of the Spellcaster is also a tech blowout card that can auto-win any particular spell-heavy matchup. Moving on to the extra deck. Our deck's win condition is to summon a near unbreakable board, and our extra deck monsters are a crucial component of achieving this goal. Heavy Metal Foe's Electrumite is our ultimate play starter, setting up our extra deck with any pendulum card we may need, giving us 2 zones to strengthen our pendulum summon, and allowing us to draw more cards in the process. Beat Cop and Wee Witch are good generic Link 2s to help Link climb. Triple Burst Dragon, Guard Dragon Elpie, Aggerpain, and Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, as well as Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, are all required for the Guard Dragon combo. Borosword Dragon makes OTKing a breeze, while Borolo Dragon helps out problematic cards our deck can't out naturally. Abyss Dweller is strong in graveyard-reliant matchups, while Tornado Dragon tears through opposing back row. F.A. Dawn Dragster and Borreload Savage Dragon are additional layers of negation we can synchro into depending on how our board plays out. And finally, Arcanite Magician is an older in-theme spell counter based card that can clear an entire board by itself if you have enough spell counters to do so. I really hope you guys enjoyed this introduction to Endymion. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you want to see more videos in this style, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.